to talk about what's happening with Eric Adams because people are not too happy with him. And I hate to say I told you so, but somebody somewhere thought it would be a good idea for Eric Adams to be the mayor of New York City. Wasn't me. There were multiple people running in this race, and somehow Eric Adams, out of nowhere, took the lead. Let's go ahead and get into this, and then we're going to talk about how this is transferring over to the migrant tent situation that New York City is having right now. Now, this is from the New York Times. Remember, they tend to be more on the liberal side. Anxious New Yorkers worry whether Eric Adams is the man for the moment. Well. City residents are concerned about violent crime, housing costs, school budget cuts, and homelessness. Some believe that the mayor has not met the challenge. I don't know what to tell you, except I told you so. Now, this came out August 9th. So this was just last month. And we're going to go ahead and start. I want to start here with education. Now, this is coming from Miss Soriano. She's a manicurist, and they're asking her what she thinks about Mayor Adams. And it says she would like to have her son learn how to swim, but the city canceled a program that offered free lessons, in part because of a national lifeguard shortage. And she wants more from her son's education. His class was too large, she said. The mayor has opposed a state bill to lower class sizes. Now, to be fair, this is not something that's just happening in cities like New York. This is happening across the country where teachers are having to take on larger class sizes. When we all know, especially those of us that have worked in the education system, smaller classes actually help students more. You have more one-on-one attention from the teacher when you have less students in the classroom. So if you have a question about the topic at hand, you have a more of a chance for the teacher to actually be able to go to each of you individually and help you with that question. Not so much now. So the fact that Eric Adams opposed that to lowering the class sizes, what does that tell you about Eric Adams? Does he really care that much about education for New Yorkers? Does he really care that much about investing in the public education system? Or is Eric Adams just trying to take most of the money and give it to the cops? Let's be real. Let's go on here. 7 months into Mayor Adams' term, the hope and excitement that many New Yorkers felt after his election are giving way to concern that he has not taken the bold steps needed to solve the city's most intractable problems. Here's the list of concerns: rising crime, high inflation, another wave of the pandemic cases, monkeypox. There is unease over the city's overwhelmed homeless shelter system. Keep that in mind. Hold on to that topic. Growing anxiety over its economic recovery from the pandemic, and complaints about nauseous piles of trash lining the streets. Now, to be fair, when I lived in New York, and they still do this, and I don't know why this is done, when you take out your trash, instead of the trash going into a barrel, you just take the trash bag and you throw it on the sidewalk. Like, this is how we used to do it. Like when I lived in Brooklyn, you get the trash bag, put it on the sidewalk. That doesn't help the rodent problem. That doesn't help the smell in the summertime either, right? So that has always been a problem, but it sounds like it has become worse. The overwhelmed homeless shelter problem. This is a housing issue. This is a poverty issue. The rent in New York City is probably like the most expensive. At one point, it was the most expensive in the US. I think San Francisco may be giving it a run for its money. But it's one of the highest in the world. Not just in the country, in the world. So you have astronomical rent. People have been evicted for not being able to pay that rent, right? And you have a poverty situation. So literally, I know when I lived in New York, I didn't know one person that didn't have multiple roommates. And I'm talking about people who have professional jobs. So it has not improved. That situation needs to be resolved. And that was something that he said that he would tackle, right? Okay, let's go on. School budget cuts. This is another one. Mr. Adams clearly relishes the job, immediately becoming the city's leading cheerleader and noticeable presence in the city's nightlife. But some argued that he cannot run the city on charm. Oh, you don't say. His affordable housing plan has been criticized as too weak, and his school budget cuts have raised concerns about his commitment to improving education. You see what I mean? These were things that he ran on. He said he was going to fix the public education system, had opportunities to do so, voted against the bill that would decrease class sizes, failed on that issue. Another issue here, the affordable housing plan. That was another issue that he said that he was going to fix, he was going to tackle. So, yeah, okay, it's nice that Eric Adams has time to go to nightclubs and party with the people. But are you getting shit done? Like, are you getting anything done? That's the question. Let's go on, and then we're going to get into this, the tent community situation. Go here. Some people still like him, but look at the reasons why they like him. So one of the residents here says, I like how he dresses. His heart is good. He's compassionate. This is the personality over policy. You have more and more people that are attracted to someone's personality instead of being attracted to the policy. I don't care if he dresses well. I don't care what Eric Adams looks like. I don't care if he smiles or he's compassionate. I care if Eric Adams is getting anything done. And he's not. What has he done about the homeless situation? What has he done about the housing situation? What has he done? You see how people just fall for the okie doke? He's nice. He dresses well. He's so compassionate. So what? We have to push policy first. We have to get Americans out of this mindset that you need to focus on the personality of the candidate or the politician and not so much focus on the policy. Policy should always be first. But we live in an American Idol society. Now, there's another one here that I want to highlight as well. Now, this is Maria Muhammad. She said her school was affected by proposed budget cuts that were recently overturned by a judge. Enrollment has dropped and the principal had to make difficult decisions. She was asked to cut 8 teachers. I would have been on the list, but she was able to keep me. You guys hear this? So those teachers that got cut, that lost their jobs, were they able to find teaching jobs just like that at other schools? How are they going to pay their rent? How? I don't know. I don't know. And now he has a new problem on his hands. Now, shout out to Case Study QB for this clip. He says Fox News reports that NYC Mayor Eric Adams set to open tent city for migrants. We're going to get into this, guys. Let's go ahead because it's a doozy. Here we go.
More migrant buses from Texas arriving in New York City this morning as the city is set to house up to 1,000 of them in tents. The mayor asking for $500 million from the federal government to help construct these tent cities. Fox and Friends Weekend co-host Rachel Campos-Duffy actually went up to the Bronx, to that borough, to hear from the people about their new neighbors, and she joins us now. Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning, Ainsley. Yes, I wanted to see what the people in the Bronx thought about this idea. Here's what happened.
By the way, for those of you who are not aware, this is Rachel from The Real World. MTV had a reality show. I don't know if they still have this, but they had a reality show called The Real World. And this is Rachel from the San Francisco cast. She married Sean, who was from the Boston cast. Yes, can you tell I used to love The Real World? Who was from the Boston cast. They got married. That's why her last name is Campos/Duffy. So just keep in mind, that's who is reporting this. Okay. I got to let you know that. And her husband is a Republican, former Republican politician for the state of Wisconsin. So I got to let you know who people are before we go deep. So here we go.
So about 1,000 migrants are going to be put up in Orchard Beach, about 10 minutes from here. Did you know that?
No, did not know.
How do you feel about it?
I'm not too thrilled about it.
Tell me why.
I think they should find a proper place for that. Yeah, not here in Orchard Beach.
Did you hear what he just said? He said, I think they should find a proper place for that, not here at Orchard Beach, not in my backyard, not in this neighborhood. I support being a sanctuary city. Bring them here, but just don't bring them into my neighborhood. You guys have been noticing this hypocrisy that's been coming from a lot of these liberals that said they supported being a sanctuary city, that they didn't want the kids in the cages. The kids are still in cages. You don't hear them talking about it anymore. They only talked about it when it was under a Republican president. Pay attention to that. So they were all for it. They were all for it until they actually started coming here. Now they don't put them here. Put them in a different neighborhood. Not in my neighborhood. No. The comments get worse. Wait for it.
My opinion, I just don't think that New York City really has the space to house anybody else. I think we're just overpopulated at this point.
I'm not.
So she had a good point. She said she doesn't think that New York City has the space to house anyone else and that we're overpopulated at this point. New York City does have this problem. It is an issue, right? They need more housing, but they need more affordable housing. So I totally get it. Look, I mean, I lived in New York and I left. It's it's a crowded place. It really is. So at least she talked about it from a point of, I would say, sensibility. At least she was sensible about the matter, right? Not in my backyard like the other guy.
Very happy with that. I bring my grandkids here. I've been coming here winter, summer, spring, and fall, and it's a beautiful park. And I think it's going to make a big difference in this park now.
How do you feel?
Wait a minute. We got to hear him again. I'm sorry. He's the one really saying the quiet part out loud. Listen to him. Wait for this one.
We're just overpopulated at this point.
I'm not very happy with that. I bring my grandkids here. I've been coming here winter, summer, spring, and fall, and it's a beautiful park. And I think it's going to make a big difference in this park now.
How do you?
I'm not happy with that. I bring my grandkids here. I think it's going to make a big difference in this park. In other words, he doesn't want his grandkids to see the migrant people. Did anybody catch that? Why is it always about the children? You notice how they always got to bring the kids in? I bring my kids here. They don't want them to see that. The hypocrisy.
Feel about the tent city being set up here at Orchard Beach?
I have no issues with it.
This country was created on immigrants. And I think we had Ellis Island. We got Statue of Liberty. Give us your hungry. Give us your despaired. I think it's a good thing.
I think that now
there's something I want to mention about what he said in reference to Ellis Island that I want to point out. You know, people make these comments today that, oh, these immigrants need to learn how to speak English. Did everybody know how to speak English when they immigrated here to Ellis Island back then? No, they did not. You see how this works? So I'm glad he did point that out. Let me rewind this back just a little bit for this guy. There we go.
You're despaired. I think it's a good thing.
I think that now they're here, you're in a position to help. That's your job, right? To help?
We are an asylum city, we're a sanctuary city, and we should do as much as we can to maintain our status. You know, as a Christian, my heart goes out to all those who are suffering and all those who are in need. But I feel like at some point, either we all come together as one and say we're going to do it this way. But I think we need to really focus on the needs that we have here, especially in the Bronx. So,
Let me go ahead and debunk her statement, the one that said she's a Christian. I told you guys I grew up in the church, so we're about to go there on this one. Wait for it. Oh, I think I went back too far. Hold on. Here we go. Here's the I'm a Christian, but.
Great to help.
We are an asylum city, we're a sanctuary city, and we should do as much as we can to maintain our status. You know, as a Christian, my heart goes out to all those who are suffering and all those who are in need. But I feel like at some point, either we all come together as one and say we're going to do it this way. But I think we need to really focus on the needs that we have here, especially in the Bronx.
But Christianity would tell you the opposite. To the Miss, I'm a Christian, but. That's what I'm going to call her. Because I used to hear people make those statements. When I lived down south, I lived in the Bible Belt. I used to hear people make those statements all the time. Well, I'm a Christian, but I don't think they should be coming here. This is America. America is for Americans. So she said she's a Christian, but she said, well, we need to take care of, what's happening right here in the Bronx. But according to the Bible, what does the Bible say about immigrants, about people coming from foreign lands, coming to your neighborhood, coming to your town, coming to your area? It says that you should welcome them. You should welcome them. Again, I didn't come up with that statement. It's in the Bible. It's in the Bible. So to the woman who's, I'm a Christian, but always watch the butt. Watch the butt part. Watch that. You got to push back on that. It's the same thing with the border wall. People are like, I'm a Christian and they shouldn't be coming here, so we need to build a wall. That's not what the Bible says. So one of the things that was interesting to me is people would cherry pick. They cherry pick things from the Bible to fit their agenda. I'm the Christian, but. Let's go on.
So some people have said, well, why haven't they offered this kind of housing to U.S. citizens who are homeless or veterans?
There's a lot of homeless people here in the United States around this area as well.
Should they be prioritized over people who didn't come here legally and are not citizens? Should citizens be prioritized?
Yeah, they should. That's not fair.
But come on now. See, this is Fox News trying to pretend like now all of a sudden they care about homeless people. Watch this. Now, all of a sudden, you care about those homeless people that you said were too lazy and didn't want a job and they were all drug addicts. Don't think I forgot, because I didn't. Here we go.
Focus on the needs that we have here, especially in the Bronx.
So some people have said, well, why haven't they offered this kind of housing to U.S. citizens who are homeless or veterans?
There's a lot of.
Do you hear them? You hear this? Why haven't they offered that housing to U.S. citizens who are homeless, who are veterans? But you were totally against this. You were totally against it. I've played it on the show multiple times where they basically said that those people were being lazy. They need to pull themselves up by the bootstraps. They were all drug addicts. I watched multiple times where they criticized the homeless people, including those veterans that they claim to care so much about. I've seen it multiple times. Now, all of a sudden, they're trying to make it seem like they care about these homeless people. Get out of here. I hope no one falls for this.
Homeless people here in the United States around this area as well.
Should they be prioritized over people who didn't come here legally and are not citizens? Should citizens be prioritized?
Yeah, they should. That's not fair. In my opinion, I think it should go to the U.S. citizens first. We have a big homeless problem in New York City as well.
I think we should prioritize our homeless military first, then our citizens, because we are here, we pay taxes.
So there's been no community meetings that you've known about?
What? Prioritize. So you want to prioritize certain groups of homeless people? This is why this country is so ridiculous.
Prioritize?
Yeah, they should. That's not fair. In my opinion, I think it should go to the U.S. citizens first. We have a big homeless problem in New York City as well.
I think we should prioritize our homeless military first, then our citizens, because
that didn't make any sense. Prioritize our homeless military people first, then our citizens. The homeless military people are also citizens. Where did they get? Who picked them? Like, who picked who they were going to interview here? Really? They aired this interview? Nobody caught that? Okay.
Because we are here, we pay taxes. So there's been no community meetings that you've known about?
None that I've known about, absolutely not.
And you are the kind of person that would hear about that?
I'm the person who would hear about that. I'm a person who would attend them.
Do you know who Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is?
I do not.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
So they asked him, do you know who AOC is? Keep in mind, this is New York City. He said, I do not. What does that have to do with this tent city plan? Nothing. That was just a way for them to throw in a jab. I don't know who edited this, but that didn't make any sense.
Cortez is the congresswoman of this area. Have you heard anything about how she feels about this spot being chosen? I don't. I actually haven't seen her in a while. I would see her a lot in my kids' school, in the neighborhood at Ferry Point Park, and I have not seen her. And I was actually thinking of, where is she? She wanted these policies, and now they're coming to her district. How do you feel about that?
We're paying for it as usual. I don't think they're living next to our house or in her park, so.
What's your message to her?
Think about what you're planning before you just slam one together.
I don't know what to say other than AOC is not the mayor of New York City. Eric Adams made that call. Eric Adams made that decision. Now, why were the people coming there? They were coming there because they have been bused there. All right. This is a part of this plan that Ron DeSantis and Governor Abbott have been implementing, and they have been sending people to these sanctuary cities and said, hey, look, they came to our state. You guys deal with it since you're a sanctuary city. That's where they came from. I don't know how Eric Adams is really going to handle this, but I will say this. If you can set up these tent communities for the people that are being bussed in, the migrants that are being bussed in, you know what that tells me? That tells me you can set up those same tent kind of communities for the people in New York that have been homeless, for the people who have been evicted. You could do the same thing. But Eric Adams doesn't want to do that. You know why? Because he'd rather get the police to come and harass those people and constantly kick them out of the parks that they're trying to sleep in, constantly pick up their tents, tear up their tents and throw them away. I've seen it done. So he would rather police them and create a tent community for the migrants coming in. And look, I have nothing against that. But what does that tell you about his ability and what he can do? That tells you that if he can create a tent community for those coming in, he can create a tent community for the people who are already there that have lost their homes. He doesn't want to. Keeping that homeless population and increasing homeless population is more excuse for him to give more money to the police. And you have a police state in New York City right now. Now, Ana Navarro had something to say about this, and she is really hypocritical on this particular issue. And shout out to Case Study QB for this clip. He says, covering The View, calling Republicans out for not supporting immigrants coming from socialist and communist nations. The problem is the message is coming from Ana Navarro. Listen to this. Whee!
Nicaraguans and these Venezuelans, they are trekking through the jungles of Panama to get here. And Republicans talk every day against communism and against socialism. And yet they have no conscience and no qualms about using victims of communism and socialism as political pawns and a political stunt to get them the base out. How dare you go against communism and use these victims of communism for your political gain? Well, that's what's so...
But Ana Navarro, you're so hypocritical.
Interesting to me that there are so many Latinos that vote Republican because they vote against their own self-interest. If you really are interested in these types of issues, then you're a Democrat. Yeah, well, Hispanic.
Well, people could say that same thing about those of us or those who, I would say, African Americans that vote for people like Joe Biden, that you're voting against your own interest. People can say the same thing. People can say the same thing, Sonny. But I want you to hear what Ana Navarro says again, because this is so hypocritical of her.
Nicaraguans and these Venezuelans, they are trekking through the jungles of Panama to get here. And Republicans talk every day against communism and against socialism.
And she's one of them. Do you see? She is one of the Republicans that does that. She's done it on that show. When Bernie Sanders came on The View, what did she do? She brought up communism and socialism. When you look at Bernie Sanders, like the policies that he had, that's not communism. Do you see the problem? Like, Republicans, da-da-da-da. You did it too, Anna.
And yet they have no conscience and no qualms about using victims of communism and socialism as political pawns and a political stunt to get them the base out. How dare you go against communism and use these victims of communism for your political gain? Well, that's what's so interesting.
Well, first of all, they're not even communist countries. And we had this discussion over on Call-In. So I want people like Ana Navarro to stop making this claim. We do not have a true communist country in the world. We don't have it. So when people like Ana Navarro, and she's one of them, she's made that statement about Venezuela. She's made that statement about Nicaragua. She's made that statement about Cuba. We do not have that. That does not exist. Please pass that on to your friends and fam and let them know that. She's one of the people that has continued to repeat that talking point. And Ana Navarro, as much as she wants to speak out against these corrupt countries or whatever, wasn't she being paid for doing the work for some of those same countries that were doing the same thing? Wasn't she being paid for that by exploiting people in Latin American countries? The buffoonery of it all. The buffoonery. You know, people are really starting to show who they really are. You're starting to see it now. We're starting to see. I'm going to go to some of the comments, but you got to call it out, you guys. Dabby Dabs, they should put the tents on the golf courses. Okay, that would be interesting. Shout out to JM for the super sticker. Jonathan says, how quickly liberals turn into anti-migrant Republicans. Isn't it interesting, Jonathan? At Kid, Sabby, a bigger percent of housing must be built and incorporated into affluent areas, e.g. San Francisco, Presidio, next to Nancy Pelosi. No exceptions. Oh, I bet you she would move then, huh? She would move out of that neighborhood. Gamer, Jesus hung out. Oh, Jesus hung out with poor, not rich. For all the people who want to make the religious statements. Lawrence, if you don't do it for the least of these, you have not done it for me. And thank you for the super chat, Luis. I am not a Christian, but I thought Sodom and Gomorrah's got God's wrath for failing to welcome a stranger. That is interesting. Interesting.